around the possible Swain ban from G2. Tom Kench next from Splyce.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, listen. The music is building. Oh, G2 with the Swain ban! There it is.
Totally unexpected.
Totally unexpected, the respect being shown. I was hoping they would delay it a little bit more and then we could build up, but we still have 2 more bans left. The music ramping up towards the final ban.
Make sure you tweet at us with what G2 need to do to win. Hashtag ban Swain or hashtag ban Swain.
Except they've done it now, so it's
hashtag. But yeah, but that's what they needed to do to win.
Focus now onto Wadid. They've taken him off the Thresh, they've taken him off the Tarn. I'm curious as to where he goes to next. During the regular season, his most played champion has actually been Braum, so I'm sure he's happy to bring that one out. Splyce get themselves the Camille, though. Wunder last week, he had an immaculate performance on the Camille. It's definitely a big comfort pick for him, and we get to see carry versus carry. Odo, he's been on Sion, he's been on Gnar. Now he's on a true carry up in the top lane, and a part of me feels that we could see the Vladimir come out from G2. I was talking to Odo the other day, and he was telling me about Vladimir as a champion and what champions he's good into, and he feels that Camille is one of those champions that doesn't really have that many weak laners, but Vladimir is someone that can do pretty well into her because in lane, she's strong due to her poke, but Vlad can match that with the amount of sustain that he has available to him. So we'll see where they prioritize. Meanwhile, G2 will look on a lot in their bot and mid.
Yeah, Ryze for PerkZ in the mid lane, and Braum for Wadid, his most played, 3 and 4 on that across the split. Odo is undefeated on the Camille, 5 and 0. We'll have to see if he is able to carry his team to a 2 and 2 scoreline. Remember,
5 and 0.
5 and 0.
Wow, impressive scoreline there for Splyce. Ooh, remember that back in it's actually been in both game 2 and game 3. The Trundle has been taken away from Xerxe. Immediately going to go back to it. Considered a good pick into both the Skarner and the Olaf, which have been 2 of the most popular junglers for Jankos so far throughout this series.
So Splyce here have the option of going for something like a support or an AD carry. They'll lock in the Jhin for Kobbe. It's his 3rd time playing that split.
So like there's a lot of denial here from Splyce. They've taken Wadid off of 2 of his seemingly best performing supports so far. They've taken away the Jhin from Hjärnan. They've also gotten a carry for Odo in the top lane. Like everything seems to be going pretty well for Splyce in the draft. Getting themselves that blue side seems to be doing wonders for them.
However, G2 will still be pretty happy with this. They've got Ryze for PerkZ in the mid lane. You've got Jankos on his Skarner, which he's played very well across the last 2 games. There's a lot of opportunity for G2 to make those plays.
I feel like I want to see a Galio ban here from G2 because even though Galio did receive a couple of nerfs, I believe it was on 8.5, and his priority has certainly fallen off. Galio plus Jhin, Trundle, Camille is a really devastating combo. And we do know that Splyce can look to play through their bottom lane. We know they have the ability, but they can also play through top if you have that Galio Camille kind of combo. So if I was G2, I would look to try and play safe and just take that one off the board, not run the risk of Splyce having it available.
Instead, it is going to be the Morgana ban. I expect Splyce to ban out Caitlyn here as well. They've removed the Sivir, Zaya's out of the pool. They've taken the Jhin for themselves. They would force Hjärnan onto something that he has not played yet this series, but still a couple of other options for them. Could go to something orientated at the top lane if they want Odoamne to be on a safer carry up there. Instead, it's going to be the Ezreal, so accepting that Hjärnan could take the Caitlyn for himself.
Could go for Caitlyn, could also go for Varus is another one. Kog'Maw is another option available to him as well, if he did bring that out in the final week. Oh, okay, so he's going to go for the Trist. We'll struggle in lane up against the Jhin. Talk a little bit more about it once we get into game, but has been one of Hjärnan's most successful AD carries, and during the regular season, when he got this champ, is when we really saw the best performances from him.
Yeah, he's very good at it when he pilots it effectively, but you do have to remember she was nerfed on 8.5. Attack range in lane was reduced, bit of a buff to her damage in the jumpy one as well. Cassiopeia locked in here for Splyce. Expect that to go to Nisqy in the mid lane. Into the Ryze. Has played it once already this split.
So strong skirmishes coming out from Splyce. Bit of a 1-3-1 coming into fruition. I wonder if they will go for... Ooh.
Shen support.
I would imagine it's a Shen support. And then, oh! Yes! The skill matchup. Wunder versus Odo, Camille versus Fiora. If Wunder was ever going to send a message, this would be it. G2 drafting themselves a very solid 1-3-1 comp. You have the Skarner to get early leads and look for early plays, whereas Splyce, they also have a strong early skirmisher, very strong 2 versus 2 in both mid and top. They should have lane priority in both those lanes as well, along with the bot lane too. Splyce should be the team that has that strong early pressure. The question is, can they translate that into a solid mid game, get the fights they're looking for, gain priority over the side lanes, and stop G2 from setting up the 1-3-1 that they have built their comp around.
It's only the second time we've seen Fiora this split in the EU LCS Vedius. Last time was by Smitty J on H2K. He went 0-6-0. I'm sure Wunder will not want to repeat that sort of scoreline, but that top lane is where all the action is this game. We'll have to watch Xerxe and Jankos once again to see if they can spark their teams into life, because G2 are only 1 game away from their 5th final in a row, and Splyce are only 1 game away from crashing out and having to play in that 3rd place match.
They will still be able to go to Copenhagen, but you are right. 3rd place is what they will play for. They want to stay in for a shot at the finals. Everything is so important in this game. G2 versus Splyce, it's game 4, Medic. Will this be it, or will we go to Silver Scrapes?
Oh, I want some Silver Scrapes. I want some game 5 in my life, and I'm sure a lot of Splyce fans out there will as well. Can see Nisqy picking the signature Splyce champion. It's the snake in the mid lane, the Cassiopeia into the Ryze. Xerxe on the champion he brought back into the meta against Rockat, that Trundle jungle.
30 seconds.
The innovator.
Always the innovator. Ever since he came onto the scene with the unicorns. First guy to play Zac, first guy to play Warwick.
Yep.
Now the first guy to play Trundle, Rumble in the jungle.
Ivan, he pretty much introduced Ivan to the world, really. Except the Koreans said, no, we're not playing Ivan.
And then they said, yes, we'll play it for a little bit.
But then they didn't play it for long, because turns out he sucks in the early game. Killing yourself in your own jungle is never really ideal. But anyway.
Let's focus on the champions in this game.
He is playing the Trundle. And as we said, really good AD skirmisher. Often picked into things like Skarner and Olaf because, surprisingly, he can out-skirmish them. His Q, taking away AD, the bonus stats he gets from his own W. It's kind of like, when you think about it, he has a very similar, Trundle rather, can do what Skarner's pillars do, except wherever he wants. Which means that if he finds Skarner unawares, he can get those early trades off. And he also has the pillar, which is great against champions with low in mobility. Unfortunately, G2 have a little bit more mobility with this combo they drafted themselves.
With the taunt already on towards Hjärnan. Ignites while he takes the flash away. Exhaust comes down. Hjärnan with a heal. And Splyce go incredibly aggressive early on. Wadid gets the stun off, but Hjärnan has been forced out of this lane entirely.
So we did talk a little bit in draft about how you will struggle as a Tristana, but look, no summoners. Jankos is around. Pings are coming down though. Splyce recognizing the potential gank. The ward goes out, they see him, they know what's going on. Now Odoamne level 2.
Trading on towards Wunder. You talked about skill matchup. Well, Odoamne with the level advantage should be able to harass down the Fiora early on.
Too much action right now, Medic. Pick a lane, top or bot.
Let's talk about top. I want to talk about top.
Okay, so top. What happens in this 1 versus 1? Typically, it's really difficult for Wunder to have the same sort of wave clear that Odoamne will have. So you expect him to go for an early Tiamat so that he can match that kind of pressure. But Odo, he uses his tactical sweep to get this poke out. He has the Comet that helps throw a little bit of harass down as well. But what makes this a big skill matchup is what Wunder decides to riposte. Because you could riposte the stun, then go for the stun back on your opposition. Not only do you then deny the attack speed onto Odoamne, but you also remove his limited amount of crowd control. Alternatively, you can riposte the second part of Camille's Q, which is a large part of her damage, allowing you then to turn around and go for the re-engage. And that's very much a preference thing, and it's also like a lot of mind games about when you choose to use the stun, when you choose to proc the Q. But in this game, basically once Fiora hits 2 to 3 items, she will outduel Camille every single time. The early laning phase, until she gets to that point, Fiora will struggle.
Have to remember what these teams are playing for as well. G2, 4 championships in a row for them. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's so important that we remind you guys how impactful it would be for G2 to lose this series. It would be the first time since they got into the LCS that they would not be in the finals, and it would be only the second time Splyce had made it to the finals. Last time for them was in 2016, where they lost to G2.
G2 are the kings for a reason. They have developed quite a legacy. They're looking to maintain it with a brand new roster for so long. So many eyes were on Shen and Mithy. It was always that duo that would be the primary catalyst for taking G2 for so far, but PerkZ has proven that it wasn't just them. He was a large part of it, and now with this new roster, they are one game away from securing it, while Splyce continue the battle. As you rightly identified early on in this series, the last time these two teams met was last split. It was in a quarterfinal. It went to all 5 games. It was a nail-biter, and many fans were expecting that with these two rosters, we're going to see the same thing.
Xerxe standing on a ward has been on a ward for a while. You can see that Kasing knew Jankos was up towards the top side of the map, all backing. He pushed forward, tried to get the Scryer's bloom and cleared out any vision in the G2 jungle, but after that heavy summoner level 1, we're not really seeing too much more of it. PerkZ pushed in the mid lane, came across to force Xerxe away. And it once again settles down to this tension that we have had across this series, Vedius.
Also just a bit of a slow early game.
No, tension.
I mean, there's a lot of
slow
scaling.
is a word you can use, but tension is a better word.
I mean,
it's so tense.
I understand, but
feel the intensity.
I get that.
Can you feel it in your bones?
No, not really.
Okay, well.
But I mean, it's scaling. Remember that, scaling.
Tense scaling.
I mean, you've got a tier on both mid laners, so I mean, maybe they're a little sad, and once they've dried the
stack it quicker.
All right, that's fair. You're allowed to feel different things to eye, but so far things very even.
Yeah, as expected, I think, in the early game. After that an initial foray in the bottom lane, we haven't really seen too much more action down there, because they both know they could get ganked by the jungler. They could get caught out,
yes.
Especially when your AD carries are low mobility, like the Jhin.
But it's pretty crazy how strong Shen is, like, just in early levels. He lands a taunt, he does so much damage.
He has just a lot of damage baked into his kit as well.
I mean, the steroid he gets, if his sword passes through a target as well, is pretty nuts. And yeah, so you want to be afraid of him in the early levels, but like after the nerfs to Tristana, typically she is just a little bit weaker. The range nerf really did hit her. I think we looked at it the other day. She gets back to normal at around level 5, level 6 is when she has a decent range, and it's not too bad for her. But very early levels, as we saw from the previous trade, it gets pretty rough.
They're riposting the damage there. Wunder's going to trade back here with the grand challenge, and Odo has to flash away. Jankos once again trying to catch out his former brother.
Surprised he didn't go for that kill, especially with Jankos on the way, and the fact that he had flash available. Surprised he didn't go for that, but still, he's going to be happy with the fact that he got a flash out from Odoamne now. PerkZ, early flash, yeah, because of the miasma, you will not be able to flash out from that. And with a pillar coming through too, like that is, I believe you were actually in a game with Dracos where you ran the Cassio Trundle duo and you killed a mid laner like 4 times because they could not flash away from that very strong combo. So good respect being shown there from PerkZ.
It's just incredibly deadly if you catch them out, and then the next time they don't even have flash, you can just continually push towards them. Wadid, counter! Xerxe has to secure it. They decided to go for the blue buff instead of the Mountain Drake, but now Xerxe will start it up. Jankos is still up towards that top side, just backing now. So
this. They don't have the pressure bot. Like, it's a Jhin Shen. They've already proved that they are so much stronger in the 2 versus 2. They're giving this one away. Jankos, his eyes are on trying to get Wunder ahead. And there is no vision right now. Here he goes, Predator pot.
Looking for the wall jump away. Jankos has the impale, but a great tactical sweep. Looking for the stun. Unstoppable. Jumps onto him. Jankos caught underneath the tower. Puts the impale down. The stinger in the back of Odoamne, but Odo able to get back underneath his tower. And even jumps back in for a bit more damage because Nisqy was on his way up. A great play by Odo across the board to keep himself safe.
Yeah, he wanted to dodge away from the ultimate from Jankos, but he was so close to the tower that Jankos put himself in a really awkward spot, and Wunder was pretty slow to follow up as well. He didn't have his ultimate for that extra bit of damage, which meant that Odo was able to get away with his life. So a lot of time and resources invested into trying to get a kill, and all really amount to is a bit of a CS lead for Wunder in the top lane.
talking about CS leads, I want to look at this mid lane because Nisqy is actually amounted about 13 farm ahead of PerkZ, who across the course of the season has been one of the stalwart carries for G2, known for having his lane kingdom. This series hasn't been quite as dominant as perhaps people expected him to be against Nisqy.
Yeah, but you also got to recognize a lot of his teammates truly are stepping up this game as well. And PerkZ for the most of the season was kind of the one carry that you'd often rely on. Wunder definitely had his moments, but there was a period of time where he was put on all these tanks as well. So expectations were for PerkZ to be the primary carry to help G2, and so far this game, he just hasn't needed to be. He's been very reliable, his Zoe has been very good, he hasn't been insanely lane dominant, and in part that is due to the improvements that Nisqy has made as an individual. But you're right, PerkZ has not been as dominant. But so far, I remember hearing on the Euphoria podcast, I believe that there are 2 bets around PerkZ in this first semifinal. The first one is he will do over-under, and it's relating to he will do 32% of his team's damage across the series. And the other one is that he will die 8 times.
How many times has he died up
He's died 3 times, I believe.
Okay.
And he's at match point, so Splyce have got to get to work if they want to try and get him over that value.
It's true. Catching out PerkZ would be pretty beneficial to Splyce, of course. We've seen the pressure that Xerxe can put on towards that mid lane, but at the moment it's all about top for Jankos and Wunder. Going to pop that vital. Odo jumps away, waits for Wunder, and here comes the Stand United as well. They're not actually going to go for the full engage.
But I think that's largely because Jankos showed up, in which case Odo didn't feel confident enough to commit. He did have his ulti, and with Kasing there, they probably could have gotten themselves a kill, but that was really good patience there from Odoamne. This is why we talked about it being a skill matchup, right? You can't just waste your abilities, you've got to be very patient. You've got to use the mind games. And right now, because he won out on that exchange, Splyce have the Ryze on the top.
I like it from Splyce as well, because they push out mid lane, they bring Nisqy up, and they say, okay, we could have 4 players in this top lane. Even rotating Kobbe up towards that mid lane, accepting they're going to lose bot tower, but getting the pressure.
And I think that's the most crucial thing, because if they just left Kobbe in bot, he was guaranteed to either get dived or deny farm. So they move him up to mid, they also bring Nisqy up to top, and that's just smart lane assignments. They're making sure that everyone can still get farm, resources are being utilized, and the pressure is being applied to the opposition. So Splyce got themselves a bit of an early lead.
They have a Mountain Drake, they're looking for the Rift Herald as well. They secure this, they come out very much on top of that trade. First tower for other tower, perhaps not as impactful as it could be. But they will get the Rift Herald as well. Jankos waiting in the wings, won't be able to do too much about this. So Rift Herald to Splyce. 11 minutes in, gold basically even, but CS lead for Nisqy, 15 ahead in that middle lane, even in the bot, even in the top, even in the jungle, even on the supports, or 7 CS lead for Kasing, which is obviously vital for Shen.
Very vital.
Now he's got his Raptor cloak, he's unstoppable.
Ugh. It's pretty much game over at this point, one could say. But G2, their avenue for a comeback. You always have the split push power of Wunder. Remember, he will 100% win out that 1v1 later on into the game. It turns from away from a skill matchup into a, oh, this is Fiora and she pretty much kills everyone. Now G2 looking for a gank and bot.
Jumping on towards the center, suppression on Kobbe, once again overextended and taken out by Hjärnan. First blood goes to G2 and they're not done yet. Chasing onto Kasing, great dodge on the Winter Spike, but the exhaust comes out. Jankos not going to be able to get the stun as Kasing flashes the wall.
Ooh, a lot of investment there in the bottom lane from G2. Jankos here flashes in to secure the ultimate, because when Wadid ultied, I believe he got the knockup onto Kasing first and only a slight knockback onto Kobbe, but the action isn't over yet. Roam up top lane from PerkZ.
Really good stuff from G2, playing down in the bottom wave, knowing there's no tower there, then roaming up towards the top side. Xerxe's trying to answer this, but he's going to be a little bit slow there. Means they won't get the tower, but they do get some pressure down. I have an interesting fact for you, Vedius. Kobbe has given up first blood more times in this series than he did across the entirety of the split.
Wow.
2 times this series, 1 time in the split, and this is how it happened.
So you can see the knockup was going to hit Kasing first, so Jankos wanted to make sure that the ulti landed onto Kobbe before he could flash away or potentially get out of that dire situation. Kasing was then forced to flash with the support from Xerxe. He's able to get away himself, but Jankos finding that early kill will extend the goal just a little bit, but primarily the goal there was to put Kobbe behind and help Hjärnan get the resources that he needs to turn into this big carry later on.
That's exactly what they're doing, building up towards that infinity edge. Kobbe going towards the Essence Reaver for himself. Full rod of ages on Nisqy, though. He's going to start stacking that up. Top lane, we've got the Tiamat that you talked about for Wunder into a Tiamat Shen for Odoamne. The Shen so impactful off that empowered Q that we also discussed for
the mid lane here. Odo looking for a row.
PerkZ flashes early, Odo flashes in. There's the Hexag ultimatum as well, and PerkZ is caught underneath the tower. The taunt, the miasma, no place to go for PerkZ. He's dead. Here come the rest of G2 though. Xerxe is going to join it in as well. Wunder teleported in. Wadid down towards the bottom. Hjärnan is going to just rain hell up on the faces of Splyce. Kobbe flashes in. Can't quite kill Wunder. Needs to target the enemy AD carry because at the moment G2 are doing absolute work in this place. Wadid flashes away. The Glacial Fissure stops Kobbe as well, but the Deadly Flourish will connect. Xerxe with a pillar will clean up the Braum.
So it ends up being a 2-for-2 overall. What was initially started by Odoamne diving in the middle lane. Very clutch back and forth. Could have swung heavily either way if it weren't for a few micro decisions, and the Rift Herald being thrown bot as well. Very tense fight, just under 15 minutes into the game.
Ocean Drake goes over to Splyce. They'll look for that bot lane tower as well. Nisqy down here is ahead of PerkZ, but PerkZ does have the Abyssal Mask now, so can deal a little bit better with that Cassiopeia. We saw how hard it is to escape the Splyce lineup as soon as they get on top of you. PerkZ paid for it with his life, but good collapse, and Hjärnan once again stepping up on this AD carry, coming in on the Trist, getting the flank off, and using his early lead to get a kill.
Yeah, so the pings come out, PerkZ flashes very early again, showing the respect, and then you have the Shen ults plus Camille to lock him in place. And there's not really a huge amount the Fiora can do. Also, no, Trundle gets here first, but one day he's not afraid to commit. He knows he has the rest of the team collapsing in. Odo gets shut down, and you think at this point, oh, G2 can win the fight, but Jankos doesn't really have the damage. Hjärnan doesn't really want to stick in the middle of 3 members, and that forces G2 to disengage. Good ulti there from Wadid. I feel like he would have gotten out here if it weren't for the Deadly Flourish from Kobbe, and that means it ends up being a 2-for-2. So honestly, great answer for G2 considering the situation. But Splyce still end up with 2 kills over their opposition.
We've talked so consistently about the 2 carries for G2. Wunder, PerkZ, now Hjärnan stepping up as well. It's taking him a whole split to really fit into this role, but his play on the Jhin in the last game and his play on the Tristana thus this game has looked very, very strong.
Many G2 fans were looking for this kind of a performance. Many people were excited. You know, Hjärnan, he's had a lot of great performances in the past. He was formerly of H2K, he's been on Rocket. He even took a bit of a break for a while. You know, he played for Vitality too, back in the split where they last made playoffs. And many people were looking at him and thinking that he could be a big carry. He could provide the role that G2 needed. And it's only recently in these playoffs that we're really seeing that come to fruition.
You have to remember who he was partnered up with for a lot of his playoff performances in the past. It was Kasing. The Hjärnan Kasing bottom lane was one to be feared. They took H2K to Worlds. Yes, they got knocked out in groups, but they went there. They went to the World Championships as a duo. They never won a final though. Kasing's actually never even been to a final.
Has Hjärnan never been in a final?
No, he's never been to finals as well.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So many people just battling for that.
Yeah, Jankos, Wunder, Jankos, Odo, Kasing, and Hjärnan, all of them being to semi-finals many times. Nisqy, yes, but
he's only been in one split.
Yeah, I don't really count Nisqy.
Let's see how the game progresses. Still very even between the 2 teams. If you have only just joined us, would highly recommend you go check out the other 3 games that we've had so far.
And not just because it's us casting and our voices sound amazing.
I mean, that's just the first reason, but also there's some great League of Legends. G2, they've had some pretty impressive snowballs versus Splyce, but it looks like they're not going to get that this time around. They have gone for a little bit more of a scaling aspect with the... ooh, nice sidestep there from PerkZ. But yeah, they've gone more for a scaling aspect with the Fiora and the Tristana. And PerkZ, he kind of has struggled in mid with all the ganks that really have been thrown towards him. He's done a pretty good job of surviving them, but still, fallen behind, still holds on to that mid-tier 1 for the time being.
Yeah, he does. AD carries are now in that mid lane as well. It feels like Wunder's got to a point where he can adequately split push into Odoamne. Ravenous Hydra and the Phage completed on Wunder for the Fiora, whereas really still sitting on components on Odoamne. Assume he'll go back and get the Trinity Force pretty soon. And the next objective, a Cloud, Drake, and the Baron in 2 minutes. With only 1,000 gold between the two teams, it's definitely going to be a big fight no matter how it ends up happening.
Just looking across the vision, always important to keep track. You can see a lot of river control gained from G2 on towards the top side. They have 2 primary control walls, and then the rest are kind of littered defensively towards the bottom side of the map. Whereas for Splyce, they primarily got defensive vision. They're being pushed in by G2. They have to kind of play on the back foot right now, given how strong Wunder is and how much pressure Hjärnan has generated. I kind of look at this comp, and they have the better team fighting. I would argue if they can force G2 to group in the mid game.
Okay. So Splyce have the better mid-game team fight.
I believe so, but it's like, I want to say they have the better team fight, but then you just kind of comparatively look at the 280 carries. And Jhin's not a terrible team fighter, especially against this comp, but it's just, it's Triss, you know? Like, super long range, has her own attack speed steroid. She's just like a really crazy strong team fighter. But the biggest thing is that Camille offers so much more value in fights than Wunder does. And that could very well be the determining factor once Splyce tried to force these fights, especially once he's now got the Trinity Force, so now would be a good time to try and make stuff happen if you're Splyce.
Got to play around those item power spikes if you can. G2 actually slowly amassing a little bit more of a gold lead here. Up to about 1.5k. 20 CS in that top lane is probably contributing to that. And the fact that PerkZ has been able to stay pretty even with Nisqy on this Cassiopeia. That at any point you feel a fight could erupt. Once again, Vedius. Tension.
See, this is a little more tense, yeah, because now the Baron spawned, and vision becomes so much more important. Splyce have a really fast Baron taking team with Camille, Trundle, and a Cassio.
I agree with that. I actually think this stat that just dropped down is really important. Splyce, when they're behind at 20 minutes, on average win 50% of their games, which is incredibly high. You would assume a team that's behind at 20 minutes would actually lose a lot of their games.
But a lot of that does come from the early part of the split, remember, you know, and many teams argued that that was when rosters were still figuring themselves out, you know?
It's true, it's true. I think you can look at Hjärnan as a prime example of someone who's taken some time to figure himself out. The realm was going to be used here in the top lane. Jankos and PerkZ looking for a fight. Turn around by Nisqy is available. Teleports coming in, both from Stand United as well. Straight on towards Odoamne. There's a hexagon of Hjärnan in from the side, though, and already Odoamne just burst down. Look at the fight from Splyce. They engage in too many directions and they lose 2 members incredibly quickly. PerkZ is going to chase down Xerxe. G2 just totally destroys Splyce.
And now Kobbe and Nisqy are the only 2 alive. Can they get a pick onto Wunder?
Headline gaze was used, doesn't connect, but Wunder is so low. Nisqy with the bang sinks him in. Curtain call comes out as well. Kobbe did not need to use those shots.
So it ends up being a 3-for-2 in favor of G2. They will secure themselves another tower in the middle lane. But the fact that G2 found another successful fight is extremely positive for them. Splyce struggling to force these positive opportunities. Just look at how much control G2 have over the map, and look at how strong Hjärnan is getting.
Hjärnan with the flank there, that river control so important for G2.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the mini-map right now, because what happens in the top is less relevant to how quickly the rest of the team gets hit. Jankos doesn't respect the fact that the Shen ulti comes in as Camille is teleporting. Just at the right time, he's able to lock at Jankos, but then look, Hjärnan and Wadid arrive way before the Jhin does. He hasn't even ulted in this fight yet. It is a 4v5, simply due to the fact that Splyce were not expecting a full 5v5 commitment here. They end up losing 3 members, and the only reason why Splyce is able to get something back is because they punish Wunder. He should have cleared this wave and backed. Instead, he greeds and he gets punished.
And he does, but you can see, like, Nisqy and Kobbe still have their ultimates available. They were not in that fight at all. Yep. And they're your 2 carries. They need to be there. And damage at the end only really coming out because they killed Wunder off. Perhaps just a little bit aggressive. Not the communication we'd want to see from Splyce in Game 4 of this series.
You know, and it's funny, because G2 have this legacy as well for always going 3-1 best of 5.
It's true.
In the EU LCS, because, I mean, they haven't really made it much farther in international events. But in the EU LCS, they have that track record of doing such, and I believe it was only against Misfits that they got their first 3-0. So
Splyce did take them to 3-2. as well last year.
That's also true, yes. So this whole statement is incorrect.
They do have a legacy of it, though.
They do have a bit of a legacy.
Exists,
yes,
just not against Splyce.
Yes, very, very true. So Splyce, even though things are looking dire for them right now, not over. And they're going to try and get back into this game with perhaps a bit of a rush Baron. Hjärnan is on the Drake. He's not going to get here in time.
No, he's not, but Nisqy isn't there either. They're going to try and engage onto Jankos. Odoamne comes down. We did with Glacial Fissure, but the root is strong, and Jankos will fall. Splyce get the pick they wanted as they started up the Baron. They might turn back towards it.
That is a jungler gone for G2. The smite is unavailable, but they still respect the power of Hjärnan on the Trist. They back away, they're happy with the pick, and this will just slow G2 down a little bit. Splyce can hold on to the vision within their half of the jungle. They can keep G2 from pressing their advantage any further.
All that Splyce lost for that was a Cloud Drake, which, although it's changed to a percentage movement speed and does give you a slight movement speed in combat, isn't the most impactful dragon in the world. So Splyce won't mind. They made this catch onto Jankos.
So they kick this one off. Jankos just hanging around. And then, oh, look at the range there from Odo. Gets the shield from his passive. Just way too much damage.
Nisqy wasn't even there once again for that. He was pushing out the top lane. Now sitting at 10 Rod of Aegis stack and a completed Seraph's Embrace. Going towards the Haunting Guys Leandries as well, which
okay,
can
so
be
watch
so
this.
strong. Odo's going to try and trade onto Wunder. The Triforce into Ravenous Hydra from Wunder is very strong. The dodge on the tactical sweep, but here comes Xerxe. Wunder using the movement speed to jump away. Not quite sure what Odoamne was doing there, but the Stag United will eventually come down. Wunder dodging and diving away. The Riposte trying to jump away, but here comes Odo, and eventually Wunder will fall.
Oh,
the Baron for G2.
Oh, Wunder. This is how you use a split pusher. When Splyce sends members to go get him, the rest of the team gets something else. 3 members were committed to go and killing Wunder. He almost got the kill onto Odoamne as well. And G2 walk away with a Baron. Beautiful play there from Wunder. Sets his team up beautifully.
Can tell he wants to go to those finals in Copenhagen, and just such strong performance from him in every single game this series. I can't think of a game really where he has reneged on the pressure. You know? The Gangplank one, maybe you could say, but
just look at how this is played out, right? So Wunder takes a lot of damage initially, but now everything is on cooldown from Odo, so Wunder can go for the re-engage. He gets a bit of lifesteal off thanks to the Ravenous Hydra, along with popping the passive. He's so close to killing Odo, who hugs the wall to prevent the final true damage proc from being used. And then if he could have sidestepped that stun, maybe he could have turned it around. But while that whole situation was going off, G2 rushed the Baron, they secured it, and now they're sitting in a 4,000 gold lead. They have a 1-3-1 comp, and they have the Baron buff available.
No Baron on Wunder, which is important for his split pushing, but he should be able to trade into Odo, as we said. Hjärnan's just going to jump forward, but Spirit's Refuge from Kasing will keep his AD carry safe for the moment. 1v1 will be enacted, you feel, from PerkZ going up towards that top side, and Splyce just have to stall.
Well, they've still got to take some steps, G2, because you can't really set up the 1-3-1 without vision control of the enemy jungle. And what you'll note is that Splyce still have a lot of vision around their half of the map. So for G2 to really start sieging onto these tier 2s, they need to guarantee control over it. Ooh, ulti actually being used there from Ryze.
Yeah, PerkZ not going to be able to get towards it, but we should have a look at that vision with the bird's eye view if we can, Vedius, because it is so important for G2 to set up this vision control that they're starting to set up.
Ooh, looking for a bit of a pick here onto Wunder.
Wunder does riposte and flashes away, but the jump onto Jankos is big. The impale on Odo, and Splyce just don't want to fight because PerkZ has the flank here. Splyce getting caught out. The King has caught them in the midst of the mid lane. Nisqy finally joins the fray. The stun on towards Xerxe will lock him down. He just about gets away. Great petrifying gaze from Nisqy, though, as he tries to turn this fight around. He can't do it, and G2 will re-engage.
Ooh, G2 looking extremely positive right now. PerkZ getting very low. They have the right set on another tower, but I don't know if they can continue the push. They don't really have the minion wave. They don't want to overcommit.
Kobbe is going to get away down towards this bottom lane, just snuck away, but you can see like PerkZ with the flank there. Hjärnan raining down damage from the side as well. It's so difficult for Splyce to find the optimal team fight. They're now 6,500 gold behind, and G2 are knocking on the door of finals.
G2. What a great fight once again from them. Hjärnan coming up huge in this final game. Wunder contributing so much as well. He's the bait in this whole setup of the play. I think Odo wanted to ult onto Wunder, but then the response here from Wadid in the flank from PerkZ, who identified it in the fight, and the work that he's able to do, because Kobbe, he's just forced to run away for the rest of the fight. He can't dish out the damage. You cannot be collapsed upon like that in these kind of fights. And Nisqy, while he gets a good ult off, the Seraph shield keeps him alive long enough to buy time. And G2, they secure themselves another tower. The Baron buff has now worn off, but just the triple threat carry from G2 really coming into effect.
Yeah, Odo didn't really have any effect in that fight. As you can see, only 450 damage from him. G2 continuing just to push forward, get that vision control. Only one tower left for them to take, and this has been the story of the last 2 games. G2 able to just close out after getting a strong early lead. If you're looking at Splyce now, you have to look at Nisqy. 3 items completed on this Cassiopeia. Looks like he's building towards a Rabadon's death cap next as well. He is their primary damage output in the next fight, alongside Kobbe, if he can position well in these fights.
And even though G2 have lost the Baron, they have so much vision control. Let's bring up the bird's eye view to have a look at how much vision control G2 do have.
Oh,
they're actually setting a bit of a play in the bottom lane, but it doesn't matter, because what we're looking at is the vision right now. And this is what G2 sees. They have so much control over the entire map. It makes it so easy to just rotate from lane to lane. And let's flip over to Splyce. Let's see what they have. Nothing. They have a bit of vision in the top side. They can see a couple of the entrances towards their base, but aside from that, everything is in control of G2. It enables them to get the final tier 2. They can now make their way towards the Drake. Things like the Realm Warp from the Ryze make it very easy to make these rotations happen as well. And this is why we like to highlight vision, because it's so important in this late stage, allowing you to break into the base and secure this. Secure yourself the win.
G2 with their second Cloud Drake of the game, a 7,000 gold lead, a 3.5 item AD carry, a 3 item mid laner, a 3 item Fiora as well. They have well and truly come online, and Splyce have to work out some sort of avenue, some sort of last vestige of hope, because the Baron is up in a minute and a half, and G2 have total control of this game.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at Nisqy to be one of the big carries now. Level 17, 3 items completed on the Cassio. If he wants to take Splyce to the final, he's going to have to make a huge play. Perhaps find the pick onto Hjärnan, get that miasma to prevent him from jumping away, get the follow-up from Odoamne. If they can find that fight, then maybe Splyce can turn this around. A Baron is enough to stall the game out a little bit longer, but you just look at the animation from G2, and it is going to be an uphill battle for Splyce to pull this one back.
Especially if Wunder can just get into that position where he's split pushing into Odo. Odo cannot deal with him right now. That Fiora is too strong. 307 CS sitting on him. He's got Kleptomancy as well, so he'll have been building up that gold lead throughout the course of the game. Odo can try and push it out, but he realizes as soon as he faces into Wunder, he cannot take the 1v1 fight.
PerkZ following up behind him as well.
We saw this a lot.
We did.
Throughout the course of the split. A lot of the time, PerkZ on Ryze or Talia will just join up with Wunder, and they'll make a play behind the enemy top lane.
But so many wards in the Splyce's bottom half of the map. He shouldn't have been seen, though. If we could just quickly toggle Splyce's vision, you can see that I don't think PerkZ has been spotted. Yes, you can see the path that he took would not have spotted him. So both members are dark in the bot side. Splyce are just grouping up. They recognize Baron is spawning soon, so they're going to go for it.
Okay, PerkZ has been spotted now.
Yep.
Baron has spawned.
Will they go for a fight? Oh, look at the damage.
I think PerkZ will just go for...
They're going to rush it. They're rushing it. Here we go.
Splyce are going to rush it. This is the time. Brother v brother, man v man. This is no time for friendship. No time for mercy. Doesn't matter if you play with them before. You need to win this fight. They jump onto Jankos. The petrifying gaze stunts G2 in their spot. But Hjärnan is still alive. Watch this AD carry jump around the fight. He flashes the wall. He's getting onto Kobbe. The curtain call is...
That's a double.
He's dead. Hjärnan jumps forward looking for the triple him as well. PerkZ takes it away. The carries of G2 do absolute work and shred through Splyce.
Nisqy tries so hard to turn the fight in his team's favor, but it is Wunder and PerkZ and Hjärnan that keep the hopes of G2 alive. I don't know if they can commit to the Baron right now without the smite. Xerxe is still alive as well. G2 choose to disengage, but what a clutch fight. So close for Splyce.
For a moment, I saw that Nisqy ultimate and I was like, they've done it. Splyce have turned it around. Watch this fight again.
So keep your eyes on Nisqy, because Jankos goes in, trying to lock down the AD carry, but it's the wrong carry that they need to focus in on. Kobbe gets the kill onto Jankos, but then it's when Hjärnan joins the fight. You think at first, oh no, this is going to end in disaster, but PerkZ is doing work in the 3 versus 3. Hjärnan gets the kill on the opposite AD carry, and then when he rejoins, it becomes an easy cleanup. But now they're rushing down the Baron.
And they will secure it. G2's second Baron of the game. The objective control from this G2 lineup has been second to none this series. And with it, they get a 10,000 gold lead. Odo trying to engage onto Wunder. Hjärnan off towards the side as well there. Blocked out the ultimate. Wunder teaches Odo a lesson on how to top lane.
But that was the correct decision from Splyce. Rushing that Baron down, forcing the double teleport, turning for the fight was best case scenario. It was just slight execution that ended up coming out in G2's favor. And the fact that Hjärnan is so strong makes it so much easier for G2. Look, he's at full build now.
This could be a 4v5 in the mid lane. Odoamne's been spotted out. We'll have to hook shot across the wall here.
He's trying to threaten the backline. He also wants to keep that minion wave away from the base, but Wunder in the bottom lane as well. He's now got no opposition standing in his way. He has the Baron buff this time around. He's going to walk those minions into the base of Splyce.
Nisqy can come across and deal with some of these. No banner of command on the side of G2, so they don't have Bob, the bannered up minion, to help them out. Odo's still looking for the flank as he clears out his jungle. Hjärnan's going to push in with the minion wave in the mid as well. This tower will fall incredibly quickly. Tristana so good at it. The inhibitor broken. G2 break into the base. Roadwalk taking him down towards the bottom lane as well, but PerkZ does not follow up, just trying to push away Splyce. And they will take the mid lane inhibitor. Odo, possibility of a flank here. Hjärnan's going to jump away. The Glacial Fissure used as well. Meanwhile, PerkZ can just try and rotate down towards this bottom side. Odo jumps in. The deadly blow is the root. The Hextech overmade him is a lot of damage onto PerkZ, and the King is dead. And now G2 have to try and retreat from this because the bangs are sinking in from Splyce. Here comes the curtain call as well. Catches only onto Hjärnan. G2 are forced back and Splyce hold on to hope in this game.
Ends up being a 1-for-1, which is the best case scenario for Splyce, but they do end up losing their inhibitor. Fortunately, that's all they lose. The bot tier 3 stays alive. The top tier 3 was in no real threat. Killing PerkZ is definitely something they're going to want to keep doing, especially seeing as Wunder really just struggled to have a lot of impact in these fights. I feel like that miasma makes his life almost impossible to get towards the backline, but then Hjärnan is compensating so much. What Wunder lacks in these fights, Hjärnan brings tenfold, and we'll be able to see it in the next few moments. So PerkZ, he gets a lot of damage down to Kasing. The ult being whiffed by Wadid really does hurt them in the following fight as Odo then commits. The chain CC spreads everyone apart, allows him to focus down the frontline Ryze. But then notice how hard it is for Wunder to really get onto the backline because Nisqy positions in a way that's constantly threatening him. And he just really struggles to get onto the low mobility Jhin, especially with a Shen standing in the way.
So Elder Drake on the cards. Both teams have 2 dragons. G2 would be the very speedy boys if they got it.
Yep.
Equivalent of 3 Cloud Drakes. Splyce, on the other hand, just want to stop G2. Remember, there is true damage on that Baron buff as well, so that's what G2 will be looking for. They can take the Elder. Lane priority. Bot lane is pushing in favor of Splyce, which PerkZ is about to answer. Top lane is pushing in favor of G2.
Rush this down. Xerxe, he doesn't have vision.
Doesn't have the flash either. 7,000.
They're going to finish it.
Pushing forward, 5,000 left on the Elder. Now he'll realize it's being done. The curtain call comes up as well, but just looking to steal it away. Doesn't quite get it.
Here comes PerkZ on the flank.
Very close. PerkZ on the flank, but the miasma is going to ground him in place. Look at the damage, though. It's all going to land onto Nisqy, and G2 are just going to clean this one up. They get 2. They're looking for Kasing as well. Hjärnan with the leap forward. G2 get the kills. A double for Wunder, and that should be the game.
No one is standing in G2's way anymore. PerkZ gives his life for his team, and it should be worth it. Elder Drake, 4 members alive. G2 have the series in their eyes.
Splyce thought they could take down the Kings, but when you come at the Kings, you best not miss, because G2 will eat you alive, and that's exactly what they've done in this series. The 3-1 curse remains on G2. Jankos is going to find finals. G2 are going to finals. Odo is going back into the jungle because he can't do anything here at all. The G2 dynasty continues as they make their 5th final in a row.
The elation on G2's face as they secure their 5th final in a row. PerkZ continues his own legacy of failing to miss a final. What a way to do it. 3-1 to G2. Splyce, they showed their team fighting prowess in game 1, but then for the following games, they just could not compete with the improvements that G2 have made. They came in prepared, they came in ready, and they secured their spot in the finals.
Superb stuff from G2. Splyce, a story of improvement across the course of the split, but not quite enough when it came to this best of 5. And I think if you're Fnatic and Vitality looking at this G2 lineup, you're worried for finals now, because G2 looks strong in those final 3 games.
Well, we're yet to see what Fnatic or Vitality will bring out in tomorrow's semi-final. But of course, Splyce, they will still be playing in that 3rd place match. Still important in that it's a spot at Rift Rivals, while also being a spot, or you're fighting for points to try and contribute to that Worlds participation at the end of the year. But for G2, they're on track to try and secure themselves their 5th EU LCS title in a row. Jankos finally makes it to his 1st EU LCS final. You can see the happiness, but also the relief on his face as he is finally able to make it. And I'm sure many fans are happy because Jankos has a lot of fans. And for a long time, he's been praised as being the best jungler in Europe. He's an individual that is very fun to be around. He's a very happy-go-lucky guy. And he has finally had an opportunity to hold up the EU LCS trophy.
I think you look at the rest of the team as well and you say Wunder's going home, is going back to Denmark to play in the finals for G2. PerkZ is going to his 5th finals in a row, never missed one as a player in the EU LCS. Hjärnan is going to his 1st finals. Kasing is going to his 1st finals. Like
Wadid's
everyone, Wadid, yeah, Kasing is not going to his 1st. It's because I always think of Hjärnan and Kasing together. Wadid is going to his 1st finals in his 1st playoffs as well, so that's very impressive from him. The entire G2 lineup really have fought to earn their spot in the finals in Copenhagen.
And it's not been an easy split for G2 either. They've definitely had a lot of ups and downs. They've had a lot of growth to make, and the same can be said for Splyce. It was a fantastic best of 5, and I hope we get the same kind of action tomorrow.
Yeah, with G2 qualifying for their 5th straight EU LCS final, we want to know who you think carried the hardest. Our analysts have narrowed it down to Wunder, Jankos, and Hjärnan. So head on over to @LolEsports on Twitter and vote in the Player of the Game poll.
Do want to give an honorable mention to Wadid.
Yeah.
I thought his Tom Kench and the sacrifices he made for his team was very good. I thought his Thresh was exceptional, and I also think he had a great Braum game overall. And while I definitely think that there were stronger impactors, it was important for me that the support got some love this game.
It's very important. As a support main, I appreciate you, Vedius. Strange to see PerkZ not on the list, but he didn't have as much impact as the other guys there.
It's very, very true.
With the action on the stage done for the day, there's not much left to do, but load on into the EU LCS post-game lobby.